This is Umar Ahmed for IFL TV, proudly sponsored by Everlast. We're in Bournemouth, hours away from Sky Sports Fight Night. This is going to be a slightly different piece. It's going to go out on Sunday or Monday, so the Fight Night would have been done. We will get a catch up with you after Bilham Smith Chamberlain, but this is more geared towards what's happening in 3 weeks' time in Saudi Arabia, the big one with Usyk Joshua. My first question is, Adam, the Saudis, the princes, of course, chose Sky Sports box office to broadcast this fight. In your opinion, why did they go with you guys and not DAZN or another platform?
Well, I'm delighted, first of all, that we're covering the biggest fight of 2022. Alexander Usyk and Anthony Joshua's rematch is compelling. So many questions to be answered after what happened in Tottenham last year. And obviously, we lost AJ as an ambassador, as a figurehead to DAZN in recent weeks. And that was a disappointment, obviously, for the company. We go back a long way. He's part of the Sky family and always will be. We'll always see Anthony as that. But of course, you have to make big decisions at different stages of your career, and a fighter needs to earn as much money as they can, whatever level they're at. So no one begrudges AJ the opportunity to do that. He's gone with his own. But obviously, when we had a chance, when we saw a sort of chink of light to possibly get hold of the rights for the big fight, we went for it, and we went for it hard. And I think that was important because we want to deliver the best boxing to our Sky customers, and this is definitely the grandest fight of 2022. So yeah, we did meet with the Saudis, many whom we've worked with before when Eddie and Matchroom and ourselves obviously went out to do the Andy Ruiz rematch in 2019. We took 150 people out there. It's a very different operation. This time we're not doing the world feed, but I think the Saudis love the fact that Sky is the biggest platform, that Sky Sports has, a great brand, and the fact that obviously we're resilient and we've had huge success with many Sky Sports box office fight nights, since 1996 when Bruno fought Tyson. So it's a well-oiled machine. We have a huge arsenal behind us. We have 24/7 Sky Sports news, digital and social coverage. We have the history of huge nights and fights on Sky, and I know one or two of the princes I spoke to are big Premier League fans and they love their football, so they see the connection, and I think they wanted the fight on Sky, and I think it's the right place for it.
Okay. There were strong suggestions from Eddie Hearn that you guys secured this fight, which would have been a very expensive fight for anyone. You only secured it to spite them because Joshua committed his long-term future to DAZN.
No, that's not true. I mean, as I said, AJ did everything absolutely professionally with us. I spoke to him. I'm close to him. He wrote to our MD. He did everything that was right in the sort of split. And he'd always said he'd always be there for Sky. But obviously he represents DAZN because they're paying him a huge amount of money. And that's just what he decided to do. I think we've had a fantastic relationship with Anthony, with Eddie as well, for many years at Matchroom. Things have changed. Eddie went to DAZN. It's not ultimately that surprising that AJ has gone as well. He was on DAZN around the world, and now he wanted to represent them, I suppose, for the rest of his career. And yeah, that's a disappointment. As I said, there were people at Sky that were hurt about that, but ultimately, I understood it. And this is a separate thing. There was a chance to do the fight. I think everybody thought the fight would be on DAZN. But the Saudis had the global rights, and like any other rights deal or offering, the commercial team looks at it and we weigh it up and we see if we want to take part in the rights bidding, and we did for this. We were very keen on it. We believed it was the right fight to put on Sky. We've showed all of Anthony's fights throughout his professional career. We've shown Alexander's last 4 or 5, I think. He's almost part of the Sky family too. We know both teams very well, and we worked with Matchroom for many years, so none of this is a real surprise, and I think it was a real opportunity for us to go out and get a big fight for the summer, and the biggest fight of the year. So no, this wasn't out of spite or anything like that. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, and Eddie knows that, and we know that, and that's the business. But I think we looked at it as a separate thing. Anthony went to DAZN, but this was an opportunity to show a massive fight, and I think it's right for the Sky customers who've been following the careers of AJ and of Alexander Usyk to have all the bells and whistles and razzmatazz and promotion of a Sky Sports box office event, because it's a starry night, as you know. and I don't think anyone does it better than us.
So from what you're saying there, of course, as I said, any fight involving Anthony Joshua is going to be expensive, especially one of this magnitude. But Sky didn't lose their head and commercially do something ridiculous. You didn't overpay for it. You did a deal that you thought was appropriate.
Why would we, do a bad commercial deal in anything, Umar, in any sport? We look at everything. There are far smarter people than me in the business that work on the commercial, the legal side, and some real sort of stars behind the scenes. And they weigh it all up. They look at it, they strategize it. We see if it's obviously commercially viable, if it's worth doing. We are a business.
Ben Shalom stated in the week that Sky were actually not the highest bidders for the fight. I don't know if you can make a comment on this, can you?
Well, we don't talk about our financial dealings and contracts, you know that. Ben was heavily involved in this, Ben Shalom. He helped us out.
Just want to learn a little bit about Anthony Joshua's character. I think you alluded to it earlier in this interview, but we know he's committed his long-term future to the zone as an ambassador there. His future will be there. He started with Sky Sports. You guys both ways have had an amazing journey till now on Sky Sports. What was the protocol from him? Did he personally call you or someone at Sky saying, listen, I've enjoyed my relationship, but I'm going to have to move on? Did he call anyone about that?
Yeah, as I said, I speak to AJ or message him a fair amount. I also am very close to Freddie and KD and everybody at 258. And it's one of those things. It's a business thing. I think we felt that he'd stay for the rest of his career. He had a good deal in front of him. But ultimately, Dazn obviously came in with a massive money offer. And I always say, Umar, that it's all about the fighters. He dealt with everything in absolutely the professional and the correct way. And that was, via messages to me and also to the team and the senior leaders at Sky as well. So it was all done absolutely properly, and from Freddie and the team too.
It's good to hear. We'll just pause for a second. Just picking this back with Adam. So we had to interrupt because your new MC who's doing the prelims on this card has got a very, very powerful voice.
He has indeed, hasn't he? He's pretty impressive. I was walking down the Bournemouth beach the other day and I could hear him from about a mile away. He's quite a character. It'll be interesting to see how he gets on.
Almost as powerful as yours.
I don't know about that.
Adam, as I said, we're only 3 weeks away from Saudi Arabia. Now, obviously a broadcaster wasn't announced just till recently, so there wasn't an opportunity to put promotional clips out, shoulder content out. We're only 3 weeks away. It's a mega pay-per-view fight. It's one of the biggest of the year, as you said, so it doesn't need excess promotion. But have you guys at Sky got enough time to pump content out? Because normally, in my understanding, the stuff is filmed 10 to 12 weeks in advance of fight week.
It's a good question, Umar. Obviously, we'd have liked longer. 3 weeks is a very short window. However, makes me think back to when Mayweather and Pacquiao finally got it over the line, some 5 years too late probably, some would say. Could have had a trilogy by the time that they actually met at the theatre in LA to announce their fight. They had 6 weeks then before the Vegas assignment, and we only picked up the rights 3 weeks before the international rights, the UK rights for that. So we had a very similar sort of window, and that did a huge business. I think when a fight's as big as this, I think people know it's on. It's just a reminder. It's a closing in, and it's such a great narrative, such a wonderful story, because there's so much to go at with this time. You know, is this that career-defining moment for AJ? Can he become a 3-time champion like Lennox Lewis did before him? Or is he going to get outclassed, which is what happened last time at Tottenham, really. He was beaten by the better man. Alexander Usyk was fantastic that night. Yes, the tactics, he was a little bit caught betwixt and between. So what's AJ going to do differently? How will it have affected Alexander Usyk? He's had a year to move into the heavyweight division more and build up. Will that affect him, his confidence, his psyche, his physical state, his speed, and also obviously mentally what's been happening in the Ukraine? So that's been very, very, very tough for Alexander.
Okay, no worries. I'm picking this up for a third time. Apparently we were on shot on Sky Sports. I mean, there's no problem with you being on shot, but no, me and my bright light were on shot, so that was a bit of an issue.
Yeah, third time lucky maybe, Umar. We've done other interviews like this in the past. I'm sure you can stitch it all together.
We'll try.
A man of your talent.
I think they've been a bit too kind there, and we'll try and manage it though. Adam, how many buys do you expect this to do? I interviewed Eddie Hearn about this. He's the promoter of this fight. Of course, it's not aligned to his broadcaster. in Dazn. It's on Sky Sports box office, and he believes it does 700k buys. In your opinion, how many does it do?
Well, look, first of all, he is the promoter. We're looking forward to all working together again in Saudi, and we'll be doing everything to push the promotion as much as possible, as big as we can. I think it's a bigger fight than September last year at Tottenham. I think then everybody was expecting AJ Fury. It didn't happen, and I think people were a little bit disappointed when it was AJ against Usyk, and most people thought Anthony would be too big for Alexander Usyk. And I think what happened has made the rematch that bit more important, with AJ having to sort of change his training team, obviously look at those tactics. And it's a massive, massive fight and night for him, especially with Alexander Usyk as well, hopefully closing in on a possible, big clash with Tyson Fury to try and prove he's the best heavyweight on the planet, as well as what he did at cruiserweight, being the undisputed champion and pound for pound one of the finest of our generation. So I think it's got that bit more this time. I think there's a great card. I think, look, I don't want to talk about numbers, but I think it does very, very good business. And as you mentioned earlier about the short window of promotion, we're going to have to get to work 24/7 to make sure that everybody in the casual market is aware of it. Everyone in the boxing world obviously does. Most people in the sporting world do. We just want to make sure that we drive that message home, that this is a fight that you cannot miss. It's a fight that could go either way. It's a fight of massive importance in the heavyweight division. And we know the stories of both Anthony and Alexander, and they're fascinating and compelling. We'll be telling those again. We'll be pushing it all we can. And we have no doubt that this will be a very successful night.
Appreciate, as I said a couple of times in this interview, a very expensive fight for any broadcaster to secure. So I appreciate that. However, a lot of fans have moaned about the fact that it's about £26.95 the price point, which is the highest I've seen in a pay-per-view in the UK. And the cost of living at the moment has gone up, etc. So fans have been unhappy. And I also appreciate that the price change isn't too much. I think it's gone up by £2 from the previous Joshua pay-per-view on Sky Sports box office. But can you justify that price point, please?
Well, I think that's an interesting, analysis. It's obviously a little bit more. No one wants to pay that little bit more, especially with prices at the moment. There is inflation, there is, a business reason, and I think that's really taken into consideration. I think it's very important that we look after our customers as much as we can. This is a huge night. It's a very expensive fight. It's got to be commercially right, obviously, for us to do it in the first place. But I think it's important as well to point out what we do, not just with boxing, but with the whole portfolio of sports, and that is give the best we can to our customers. If you look back at Eubank against Liam Williams in February, most people said to me, why isn't that a pay-per-view fight? I didn't want it as a pay-per-view fight. It's a Sky Sports fight, and it did very, very good numbers. The same went with Josh Taylor and Jack Catterall. On September the 10th, we've got an enormous night for women's sport on the back of what the Lionesses is doing, and I believe that they'll go on, and by the time this interview it goes out next week, they'll have won the Euros. I think that what we're doing on September the 10th is an all-female night, topped by a wonderful, wonderful match-up between Clarissa Shields and Savannah Marshall. It's brilliant, and it's going on Sky Sports. I think sometimes, like with Khan Brook, and obviously with this one, this huge fight in the heavyweight division, they're expensive. Boxing is expensive. So I think that it's obviously always difficult to justify a move up in price. I would say I think it's a bigger fight than it was last year. I think it's a fantastic card. I think we will put absolutely everything into the whole build-up and the night itself. And a couple of other points, Umar. I always say it's a customer's choice whether they want to buy it. They don't have to. They could just watch what's on Sky Sports. But I think for every reason, boxing and sports fans will want to watch this fight. So I really do hope that everybody tunes in. A night out now with a few drinks, even an evening at the cinema, or if you're watching a cricket event, or I don't know, you're at the Community Shield this weekend or the Euro final. I'm sure those tickets are very, very expensive. Not a lot of people will be able to get to Saudi because of the travel. Therefore, hopefully it still presents really good value. And if you look back 25 years and what we started at doing this, it's not risen in enormous amounts, and the Americans still charging 60, 70, 80, 90 bucks for pay-per-view fights, and have been doing it for a long time, and that's sort of the norm over there. So it's a difficult one to justify, obviously, and we'd love to be able to do much more than we can. But I think we give the customers, certainly in the boxing world, for Sky, a really good sort of mix of grassroots entertainment, tournament shows,
fantastic global content from our partnership with Top Rank, with some of the best world names on Sky Sports, and all the big boxer fights on Sky Sports that we've kept on Sky and that we haven't put pay-per-view. And I think just once in a while you get a fight that comes along that is really expensive, that is really starry, and that's what it's been decreed at. So yeah, that's the answer, and it's never an easy conversation. I understand what the fans are saying, but I hope they tune in, and I'm sure they will.
Couple of more questions, a bit more light-hearted. Appreciate your time and some of the questions I've asked you. Not the easiest to talk about, but yeah, appreciate your time. How many slots do you think Boxer will have on the card? There's rumours that Ben Whittaker will be on that card.
Yeah, he really has got a voice, hasn't he? Big Mo, the MC. You can hear him from down in Sandbanks as well as in Bournemouth. How many slots? I think we've come quite late to the table. So I know Matchroom have got slots on the card. I think Alexander Usyk does. I'm sure the Saudis do 258. I'm hearing that Ben Whittaker will be on the card, which is fantastic news. Therefore, there will be boxer representation there as well. And I think it's going to be a terrific night. Callum Smith's on it, Filip Hrgović, and Ramnat Ali, which is absolutely brilliant. So looking forward to seeing the depth of the card before this massive and compelling main event. But yes, it'll be great to get Ben on it.
And away from this, I've heard you talk a lot about the Sky Sports arsenal when you're talking about fighters wanting to join Sky Sports. Very clear from Ben Whittaker, a great example. Publicly, it was well known that Frank Warren, Eddie Hearn and other platforms and promoters tried to get his signature. You guys got him. Why do you think the likes of Ben, Fraser Clark and other top fighters are joining you, and what do you mean by the Sky Sports arsenal?
Well, first of all, I'd say that BT are a great platform and they produce great content, and there's some fantastic stuff, and Frank does a great job on BT. Eddie's doing a wonderful job on Dazn alongside Frank Smith, and I think, you know, we watch their shows and there's some really great fight nights going on. We got to concentrate on what we do this side of the fence. I believe Sky is the best platform, the best brand. We have the Premier League, we have the Formula One, the cricket, the 100's about to start, the major golf, we have the darts, we have netball, GAA, all sorts of other sports as well. And I think it's really important to remember that with Sky you get that swash of eyeballs that come from other sports as well. So we know that, you know, trade fans are going to watch big boxing matches. We know that. That's great, and we can utilise our social media, our digital, our wide reach, our Sky Sports News platform to push all these events, but also with the Premier League doing huge numbers, 2, 3, 4 million for some of the games. Premier League about to start up again next weekend. I think it's really important for boxing to get on the back of that, and I think that's what these young Olympians have seen. I think many of them were tempted to go with Eddie. Eddie's been an amazing promoter for a long time, still is. He's got enormous charisma. I've worked with Ben Shalom for a year now. He's a highly intelligent entrepreneur. He cares deeply about his fighters. He works like Eddie does, like we all do, 24/7. He's very impressive. He's building a great team at Boxer, real innovation, and I think that they've got a really bright future. So he's also young, he's 28, and I think some of the fighters are, maybe they're relating to him, which is good. But I think it was a choice, really, of platforms, and ultimately they see what Sky Box Office can provide. I think with Anthony maybe making that move as well to DAZN, although we've got the next fight, I think there's gaps in the market for box office stars to come through. It was very important for Ben and I to get into the Olympians because we believe that it's the most talented team that's ever existed under Rob McCracken and Captain Fraser Clark. So it was very, very crucial for us to get the likes of Caroline and Fraser. We wish Galal and the McCormacks maybe have come as well, but you know, we've got a fantastic, fabulous five in Karis, Lauren, Caroline, Fraser and Ben Whittaker, and you add Adam Azim and Hassan Azim and the others to it, I think we're in really good shape. So I think they've chosen us because of that. Arsenal is very powerful. They can get on the entertainment programs, they can get on Sky News, they can get on NBC and our Comcast partners as well. It's a wide range to push them.
Welcome, Team Everlast, to the Team Everlast Fitness app. Download the Everlast Fitness app and find your greatness within.